Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Senate Education, April 28th, 2021, 2:17 in the afternoon. We're going to start our work today looking at H429. This is an act relating to the membership and duties of the Vermont Pension Investment Commission. This bill is not in our commission, in our possession. It is, I believe, in government ops. But given that there is, teachers are involved, educators are involved, school personnel and staff are involved, I wanted Ms. Wasserman just to take us through it to give us some background in case, constituents, others have questions with it. And of course, if there were anything that really came out of this that was important that you wanted edited or changed, we could certainly, I'm sure, work with government operations to do that. So with that, Ms. Wasserman, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon. Becky Wasserman, Legislative Counsel. So I don't know what is most helpful, if you actually want sort of a line-by-line walkthrough of this bill, or for me to summarize it and then maybe point you to the sections that would be most relevant for your committee.
So I'm thinking a general overview of what the bill does and some of the goals and objectives, how they're going to get there. And then if there's anything that we want some specificity as it relates to our committee, that would be great.
Sure. So I'll say at the start that what I have right now is the House passed version. It is in Senate government operations, so it might change significantly from what was passed out of the House. But so I'll talk through H449 as passed by the House. So it's doing two main things. The first is amending the membership and the duties of the Vermont Pension Investment Committee, which provides some investment oversight for all three retirement systems. So that includes the state employees system, the teacher system, and the municipal system. So it's changing some of the membership on that committee. It's actually changing it from a committee to a commission. So it's more independent. Right now it's attached administratively to the state treasurer's office.
Ms. Wasserman, I'm just going to interrupt. I just want to even go back, if you don't mind, even before that. So this is being looked at. We have a pension problem here in the state. Maybe just review a little bit of what the problem that, because you've been with this bill all the way through, correct? How, what colleagues in the House have tried to grapple with, and then maybe just mention, again, how they're trying to get at it.
Yeah, so I think what has been raised as concern are both governance issues with respect to the retirement systems and then benefits issues. So in the House, there were two proposals initially. One was to change the governance structure related to the systems, and then one was to change the benefit structure, and that was a reaction to an increase, a big increase that was seen in the past year between the unfunded liability and trying to address the sort of fiscal crisis that is I guess arguably here and continuing down the road. So what the House government operations did was instead focus on the governance changes, and that's what this bill reflects. This bill, the second thing this bill does, in addition to making some changes to the membership and duties of the Vermont Pension Investment Committee, it is also creating a task force that is specifically is set up right now as a sort of a summer study committee that's looking at a number of questions with respect to the state employee system and the teacher system. And those are looking at, how to reduce this liability, what potential proposed benefit changes in terms of the structure of benefits can be done to reduce costs. So it's rather than actually making any benefits changes right now, it's was kind of creating a study committee so that the legislature could come back next session to make those decisions with more information.
Any questions there at this point? And you're talking about fiscal decisions are being made in this group.
They're not actually, they don't have authority to make any decisions.
Or fiscal
they're just making
advice.
recommendations. Yeah. So they're coming up with recommendations and options to be considered. And I can just skip to that. That's section 10 of the bill. So there would be a report due by September 15th to the Appropriations and Government Operations Committees with any findings and recommendations for legislative action. And so the idea is that this committee would be looking at a number of things. I mean, I can just sort of go through some of them, but trying to set a pension stabilization target number, looking at benefit expenditures levels over a number of years, proposing new benefit structures, an estimate of how to pay for these benefit structures on sort of a pay-as-you-go, a full actuarial accrual basis or budgetary basis. And then it's also looking at some, long-term impacts on the state and local economies, and looking at how to pre-fund OPEB, which is the other post-employment benefits. So that's the retiree medical and health benefits that are for state employees and teachers, and how to sort of lower those healthcare costs. And, it's also trying to, there's also language in here that does say that, this committee is not going to be looking at how to change the retirement age between for members who are within 5 and 10 years of the retirement system. So that was something that came up, was just giving some, I guess, security to folks about who are close to retirement age, that, maybe there wouldn't be a suggestion to change that retirement age next session.
So if I may, Senator Campion, so does this specifically say 10 years?
So there is language in here that says the task force is not going to make recommendations on changing the retirement benefits for members of the state employees retirement system and teacher system who are current retirees or within 5 years of the current retirement age. They would also be modeling and estimating costs for not changing the retirement benefits for those who are within 5 and 10 years of the current retirement age. So it's really the 5 years that is they're not going to make recommendations, but they're going to do the modeling for going up to 10 years. And
Senator Pershworth.
Ms. Wasserman, do you know is this modeled at all on other states about the commission or what committee or whatever we're calling it? Because I know there's been criticism about the makeup, and so I wondered if the people that are on it and who they're representing was based on other states that have done this.
so the Vermont Pension Investment Commission and not the task force, is that your question?
No, I guess not the commission. That's the people that manage the money. No, the task force that's coming back with recommendations.
That I don't know that was modeled on another state. I think the commission, they did look at how other states have entities that manage the investments. I think the commission, the task force was an attempt to get voices who are sort of impacted in different ways. So it has 3 members of the House, 3 members of the Senate, the director of the retirement division, commissioner of financial regulation and human resources, There are 3 members who are appointed by the NEA, 2 members from the State Employees Association, and 1 member from the Troopers Association.
And the treasurer's not on there?
The treasurer is not on there, but the director of the retirement system who works in the office of the state treasurer is on there.
Any other questions before Ms. Wasserman moves on? Okay. Go ahead.
So I can just jump back to the Pension Investment Commission. So the just
I'm sorry,
high
Senator
level.
Lyons.
Oh, sure.
When you go through the bill, are you going to put it up on our screen? Because,
Oh, yeah, sorry, I can do that. I just,
I mean, that's up to the chair, but I was thinking when we start going through, it'd be helpful. just
Is
to-
it, I haven't checked our website if it's there. It's not there,
Is-
so.
sure, sorry, I was just thinking I was doing a more of a high level overview.
Well,
but I can-
that's what I'd asked you, but why don't we just keep doing a little bit of a high overview, and then we can just, then you can take us through it section by section, it sounds like, line by line a little bit.
Sure, so.
Thanks.
So I think I really discussed the task force. That was sort of the second prong of this bill, but the Pension Investment Commission, the idea there was to make this more of an independent body from the state treasurer's office and change the membership of that commission, and make sure that the folks who are members on that commission have certain kinds of training and expertise with respect to investments. So that was kind of the big change, I guess, with respect to that commission. There are also some studies involved in how to, separate out this commission entirely, make it a standalone entity from the treasurer's office, and they're going to hire an independent contractor to do that work. And it's also adding some additional duties for this commission, that some reporting requirements that the thought was, if there are more folks with more expertise on this commission, that they should be the ones who are responsible for doing that work.
Okay.
So I can bring it up if that.
Sure, that'd be great. It's also on our website now. If it's all right with everybody, let's just look at it on our on our iPads and things. That'd be great. Okay,
Just give you a minute to
thank you.
take it up.
Okay.
Okay. So section 1 of the bill is amending 3 VSA chapter 17, which is the chapter right now that has the Vermont Pension Investment Committee. For some reason, the title said Vermont State Police and Motor Vehicle Inspectors Retirement System. So I am cleaning that up and renaming it the Vermont Pension Investment Commission. And there's some definitions that are added here. It's a requirement. I won't necessarily go through them all, but it's a requirement now that the governor's appointees to the commission are financial experts and independent. So these definitions were added to explain what that meant in terms of those governor's appointees to the commission. And if you want more detail on anything, please let me know.
Okay.
In terms of the makeup of the commission, this is on page 2 at the bottom in section 522. So the commission is going from 7 to 10 members. There is still 1 member elected from the board of the Vermont State Employees Retirement System, 1 from the State Teachers Retirement System, and 1 from the Municipal Employees Retirement System. There are 2 members, I'm on page 3 now, who shall each be a financial expert and independent, and those are appointed by the governor. The state treasurer is on the commission, as well as a chair who is elected by the 9 other members. And then the 3 new members that are being added is the Commissioner of Financial Regulation, a person who represents a municipal employer, and that person is appointed by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and then a person representing a school employer who's appointed by the School Board Association. There's a lot of, I guess I should say, there's a lot of striking out, but a lot of, it's more just a reorganization because this section of law, this chapter wasn't sort of well organized. So I tried to just add some subheadings here and make it a little more organized in terms of where the language was. But the new subsection B is training. So this is requiring, so there was some requirement before that the authority that was appointing a member to this commission had to consider their experience and knowledge. And this is a little bit more forceful, that the members and alternates of the commission have to participate in onboarding and ongoing periodic training in investment securities and fiduciary responsibilities. So this is trying to get to one of the issues that came up of whether or not the members on this committee, now commission, were had the appropriate training to be on it. In terms of the member terms on page 5, the members and alternates serve 4-year terms, not more than 3 terms. And the alternates on the committee, they have, if they are moved from being an alternate to a member, then any term served as an alternate shall not be used to calculate a member's total term limit. And so I think the idea here was that folks serve as alternates on this committee to kind of get experience and knowledge, and then this would allow them to become members. So didn't want to cut off those people from serving if they had served 12 years as an alternate, for example. The chair, unlike the other members of the committee, serves not more than 20 years on the commission. And if the chair is unable to perform his or her duties, the commission can elect an interim chair, but that person shall be a financial expert or independent.
Senator Chittenden.
So Rebecca, tell me if the House already addressed this or if this is already a moot point based on how the legislature goes about things. On my other roles prior to this, concerns on important commissions like this have been raised about conflicts of interest, biases, other associations and affiliations. What I'm not seeing in this composition piece is any type of mandate that all affiliations and direct employers be publicly disclosed of members. Is that something that's not normally done, to have a website which would disclose all of their professional affiliations, who they currently are employed with, and so on? Or is that something the House already considered in this language?
I don't know that there's a website with those disclosures. It will say on page, let me just find it. I think it's under the duties of the commission. There is here it is on page 10. The commission can formulate policies, and one of the things they have to do is to have policies on the standards of conduct for members and employees of the commission. And so those policies would prohibit members from engaging in certain activities like getting a material interest from any vendor, potential vendor of investment services or other types of management or brokerage services. So I think maybe the standard of conduct policies would address some of what you're saying, but in terms of the independence requirement, And disclosure, there's no disclosure required. And the independence is really just required of those governor appointees. I think maybe in this context, it would be a little hard because there are members who are representing the boards of the different retirement systems. So there might actually be some intent there that they are kind of representing those employers or employees in that context, but there's nothing else in the language that speaks to that.
As a quick follow-up, I don't know if we want to pursue that. Maybe that standard code of conduct or this policies around these things are usually going to resolve any concerns here. I just know in other experiences with financial matters like this, it can be useful so that it doesn't come out later on, thus disqualifying or inserting any type of doubt if somebody has an affiliation with a specific broker of sorts or any type of financial affiliations that weren't widely known throughout the discussion. So I don't know where to go with that, Chair Campion. I just, with the attention this has gotten, it seems useful to, from the outset, have people disclose.
I think it's a great point. Ms. Wasserman, I wonder if maybe you could just note a few things, this being one of them, that we might share with our colleagues in GovOps as they work on it and get their
Sure.
feedback and see how best to proceed. So there might
And
be.
it might be that the chair of this committee right now would be able to answer that a little better than I can if there are actually those policies in place that are not in the statutory language, but they just have those policies already.
Would you mind reaching out to the chair on our behalf?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Um,
Senator Persley.
Yeah, where you left off right before Senator Chittenden's question, which I thought was a good point. I agree. It would be good to have that information. But on number 2, we don't have line numbers. On number 2 on page 5, it said that the chair shall be a financial expert or independent. Is independent in that context? Like, I don't know what that means.
so the definition, so that's the interim chair, if the
Right.
chair is unable to perform his or her duties. The definition of independent is on page 1, going on to page 2. So it means an individual who does not have a direct or indirect material interest in the plans. So that is someone that you do have a direct or indirect material interest if you or your spouse, parent, or child is a beneficiary of any of the plans, or your spouse, parent, child, sibling, or in-law has been is or has been within the past 5 years an employer, director, officer, owner of a publicly traded company, consultant, manager, or had any other material role in servicing the plans. And then there's a definition of what it means to be an owner of a publicly traded company. So again, this independence requirement is only applicable to the interim chair or the governor's appointees. And there's no actual disclosure required.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so move on to page 6 with the chair and the vice chair. So the chair is a non-voting member, except in the case of a tie, and that's current law. And then I guess I'll just highlight what is new here, because some of this, it looks like new language, but it's just been moved around. So in terms of the eligibility requirements, what's new here is that a legislator currently serving in the General Assembly cannot serve on the commission, so that they can have no members who are legislators. The quorum requirements were changed just to reflect the fact that the commission has grown in size, but specifically there is a supermajority required on page 6 in subdivision 3 when the commission is setting actuarial assumptions. And that is new law. On page 7, so again, this looks like new law, but the compensation and reimbursements, this is all the same as what was what is current law. It's just been moved around. So members who are not public employees are entitled to compensation and reimbursement, and the chair may be compensated at a level not to exceed 1/3 of the salary of the state treasurer. The commission, in terms of assistance and expenses in subsection I, at the bottom of page 7, shall have the administrative and technical support of the office of the state treasurer. This is a little different than current law, which says that the committee is attached to the treasurer's office. So this is trying to sort of separate out the entities a little. And page 8. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, I think you're on mute.
Muted, Senator.
I don't know how much time we have to spend on this, Chair Campion, but can you mention quickly the actuarial assumptions required? That vote requires 6. Could you elaborate as to why there's the difference and where the House came from on that? I'm intrigued by that notion. I think there's more to explore there. Page 7.
Yeah, no, it's hard for me to relay exactly what their intent was, but I think the idea is that for those setting those assumptions, they wanted to have more of the committee sort of in agreement on setting those rates. And that is a new task, actually, I should say, that the commission will be tasked with, the new duty that the committee is tasked with. So it's not something that they currently do, but I think they just wanted to have a more than a simple majority consensus when setting those rates.
Well, there are 10 members altogether, but the treasurer is
not
ex officio.
No, the chair is a non-voting member unless in the case of a tie. So there's really 9 voting members. So 6 out of 9 would be
Okay,
required to vote on that.
got it.
Whereas
Okay.
5 out of 9 would be required to vote on all other decisions.
I have more questions on this, but I will offline those. So thank you.
Well, what I'm thinking is, Ms. Wasserman, maybe, I know you have a 3 o'clock, you need to leave here. So I'm thinking maybe about 10 more minutes on this, then we'll switch to the amendment that Senator Perchlik is presenting on behalf of Approps. And then we could always have you back on this. So
I love talking about it. So
yeah, so feel free to dig in as much as you want, since we know that we'll get as far as we can in the next 10 minutes, okay, and then we can come back. So with that, Senator Chinden, did you have a follow-up? Okay, all right.
Okay. So the top of page 8, this again looks like new language, but it's not. It allows the commission to collect from each of the retirement systems the expenses they incur for carrying out their duties, and any expenses incurred for the support provided by the treasurer's office. And the AG is currently, and in here will serve as the legal advisor to the commission. So in terms of the duties of the commission, I think the substantive changes here start on page 9. So as I mentioned, there are new duties that the commission is being tasked with. So setting the following actuarial assumptions, that this is new language. So they set the investment rates of return, the inflation rate, and the smoothing rate method used for the actuarial valuation of assets and returns. Also new is that not more than 180 days after the end of each fiscal year, they would conduct an asset allocation study that reviews certain information about each fund, including risk analysis using best practices methodologies to estimate potential risks to the fund asset values over 5, 10, and 20-year period, and the remainder of the statutory amortization period. And that study is submitted to the GovOps committees and the governor and made publicly available within 10 days of completion.
So
Senator Lyons, please.
just quickly to ask the question, are they, so is this commission establishing the level of risk for the investments that are being made, or simply the rates and the things that are here? So is there any interaction with the investment organization itself in establishing what level of risk is there? So is it low,
So
medium?
they make the investments, so.
Okay,
um,
is there anything in here, will we see anything in here about level of risk? Because that, okay. Are they,
I think, that might be a question for the chair. I think they have investment policies that aren't in statute. So I don't know that
Okay.
I'm the best person to ask that
okay,
question
so there
to.
may be rules or guidelines available that restrict the investment from being at a high risk, something like.
Yes, I
don't
think
know.
I think that would maybe be something in a policy of the current committee, and not necessarily reflected in statute.
So then are those policies being handed over and continued? Or are
So
they
it's
not even-
essentially the same committee, I guess. I mean, the idea is the committee would have all the same duties it has now,
Okay.
except some additional ones.
Okay,
So, and some additional members. So I think it wouldn't be, whatever they're doing now would still be done by this commission. So I think whether they sort of administratively, they have to readopt those policies as a commission rather than the committee. I think that's probably the case, but
well, it would be interesting to know if they can be, if they would be reviewed. We don't know what has sort of what correlation there is or what cause there is between the current policies and lack of investment return. So, I'm just wondering if that has been a topic of discussion. We don't know.
I can't say for sure whether
Okay.
that was a topic of discussion. I know that nothing in the language addresses what level of risk they should be taking in investments.
Well, but then you've brought up the sort of the rules that are guiding the commission and their process. So are the rules, if the rules are being continued, maybe a review of the rules, and I don't know whether that's done by the commission or the task force. I don't know who should do that, honestly, or the legislature. Send it
So
back
I
to.
think that the task force is really looking at the design and the benefits of the retirement system, which is a different issue
Different ball of wax.
than the investments that this committee is making. So I don't
Okay.
know that it would be appropriate for the task force to be analyzing what investment decisions the commission or setting those policies for the commission.
Well, but I
but-
also, it's a real question for me, whether the current policies should be just handed over and perpetuated, or whether there should at least be some review and by the commission and or whomever, they could be all perfectly fine, but I don't know the answer. I don't know if they are, I don't know what they are. And I don't know what influence they may have had on our current situation. So I'm just asking the question.
I mean, I think maybe some of the studies that like, for example, that asset allocation study that they have to do is looking at a risk analysis to the fund's assets. So that might be
That would do it.
that I think that's getting out
Yeah.
what your point is. I can't answer. I mean, I'm guessing they want that information to adjust their investment policies based
Right.
on the information they receive. But I
That
think
makes a lot of sense.
I think this is beyond my my sort of level of
It's-
expertise in
it's
terms
okay.
of how they are actually setting their investment policies.
Okay.
Well, if you can pull from us a little bit after this, anything that you think you might, again, ask the chair on our behalf, based on some of our questions, I think that would be helpful. And certainly if senators have those questions, we can always feed them to Ms. Wasserman. Senator Hooker.
I'm just looking at the website for the commission, or the committee as it is now, and the investment and performance measurements that they have there, which include, you know, references to risk and stuff. So I think that it's the intent. I think what you're getting at, Senator Lyons, is there. Maybe it isn't utilized to its full extent. I don't know.
Well, it's not so much, you know, what's currently there. Obviously, if you're doing an investment, you have certain guidelines that you're following, and you don't want to invest at a level that is going to put the state in jeopardy, or the investment in jeopardy. But I guess my question is, will this new commission evaluate the guidelines that are there, the risk assessment that has gone on, just to begin, turn over a new leaf, or not? Just a question. And I don't know whether that discussion took place in the House or is taking place in the Senate committees. But yeah, so if it's there on the webpage, maybe we could ask them just to evaluate everything there. Yeah.
Ms. Wasserman, I think it's a good spot to pause, actually. You know, given that, you know, this is a big topic. And again, we don't have the bill, but teachers and educators and those who are connected to this, staff, et cetera, are groups and individuals that, you know, we work hard to assist in their work. So I welcome you coming back in the next couple of days, possibly tomorrow, to continue this conversation with us and provide us with additional information if that works for you. Great. So I'll have Jeannie schedule that time with you. So sorry about that, senators. I wasn't planning. I'm glad the conversation went where it went. But I obviously didn't put enough dedicate enough time to it. So we will return to it. Let's, if you don't mind, shift though to this amendment to H426 while we have Ms. Wasserman. It is on our website. I don't know if Senator Pershlick, do you want to say a few words before we turn it over to Ms. Wasserman?
Sure. Like I informed the committee the other day that appropriations is supportive of the program. This is the expansion of the indoor air quality program to help schools with heating systems. And they were supportive of the program, but not of putting the ARPA money in there right now. So this is an amendment that does two things. There's one that adds some language that they just wanted to make sure when AOE was collecting on the assessment, or the, what's the other word we use, like the indexing or the listing of everything that's going on with the schools, that they make sure to include the information that Efficiency Vermont's already done with their indoor air quality program. They wanted to make sure that was part of it. And then there's a couple small changes, but basically it takes all our languages about the program that Efficiency Vermont would do, but at the end, it doesn't have any money in it. It just says during the 22 legislative session, the General Assembly shall determine the source of funding for the program and the necessary reporting requirements. So the reporting requirements and the funding were taken out. And I don't know if there was anything else that I missed that Ms. Wasserman could tell us about.
Okay. Yeah, I think that covers it, but I can just go through
Sure.
each instance of amendment to just explain it. So this is the H426 amendment. There are 3 instances of amendment here. In the first instance of amendment, it is looking at section 3 of the bill, the school facilities inventory and conditions assessment. The Appropriations Committee wanted to add language for that inventory. So when the contractor is going out to look at all the schools and gathering information, they wanted to have that contractor review any of the information that Efficiency Vermont has already collected this past year as part of the school indoor air quality program, so as to not to duplicate those efforts. Since that was relatively recent information that was collected from all schools in the state. So that is what that subdivision D is referring to there. The second instance of amendment is a technical correction. In section 10 of the bill, the language originally referenced, I think it was BGS and AOE, looking at how to use a municipal energy loan pilot program to help schools with the needs that were identified in the school conditions assessment and the inventory. Because that pilot program was not going forward, the language was changed to the state energy management program. So looking at how to use that program to assist schools, but the title of the section needed to be changed to reflect that as well. And then as you just heard, the last instance of amendment is looking at the school indoor air quality grant program and taking out the renewable and efficient heating systems grants from that program. All the language of that program is the same, except that the funding is removed. And it's saying that the legislature will come back next year and try to figure out how to fund this program in FY22. So it's establishing a new program that's not within the school indoor air quality program.
So Becky, all the language is the same except for the funding and the reporting.
Yes, and the reporting requirement.
Yeah, great. And just so the committee knows, like, I'm supportive of this amendment and hopes that we can work with appropriations when we come back in January to find the funding for it. They felt like there was other funding opportunities for this that wasn't ARPA, and ARPA was the most flexible. So if we could find other money, it would be better.
Thank you both. Committee, any questions? Senator Hooker, please.
Thank you. So it does say that they shall determine the source of funding. So you said you're hoping that they find it, but
They can always
have to.
They could always not withstand that or something. You know, there's ways to get around.
That can always be amended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, we tried to make it as strong as we could.
So Senator Perchik, the bill is in Senator Probst at this point. They have not, they're waiting for our action on this, presumably.
Right. They were going to just swap out this section or these 3 instances and just have them make it. The chair thought that would be the quickest when I talked to her on the phone.
Yeah.
They didn't really care whether we did it on the floor or they did it in committee. But I was just going to send her an email and say that the committee was either okay with it or had changes. If we were okay with it, then they would make the change, is the way I understand it. Unless
so if they're not looking for a formal vote, it doesn't sound like they are.
I don't think so.
Then we'll just do a show of hands if senators are in agreement with advancing this as written. Senator T, you okay with this? Okay, great. Okay, so that's where it's at.
Thank you.
Great. So you'll take it from here. Thank you very much, Senator Perchlik. Ms. Wasserman, thanks a lot. And Ms. Wasserman, we'll get you back. I know your tomorrow is crazy. I think you just shook your head no I think that was like an involuntary reaction. We'll get you back. No,
I'm always free. I'm ready to come back.
But, we'll continue that work. Maybe if you have some time on Friday or next
Friday would be
week.
great. That's it. Yeah, I'm available Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay. Committee, so thank you for that. Thank you for your flexibility. We're now moving on to S114. This is literacy. If it's okay with senators, I think we give this another day just to continue to look at. I'm hoping, I know I've touched base with some of you that we might be comfortable with concurring, but I would like to give it another day so senators have time to just, as I've been doing, reviewing, making sure that we're in good shape here. The chair, Webb, and I had a long conversation last night about different parts of it. I think it's a combination. I think there's a lot of flexibility in this version that really will empower the agency to make some good changes. But I will let everyone know that tomorrow I'll poll everyone to see if everyone's comfortable with concurring or not, and then we'll pull it off the calendar, or we'll do it on Friday. Which then moves us to S106, and I see Deborah. I believe it's is it pronounced Lissy Baker?
Lissy Baker, yes, thank you.
Baker, Ms. Lissy Baker, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Ms. Lissy Baker, our Ledge Counsel will be with us in 6 minutes. So if it's okay with you, we will take a 6-minute break, and then we'll jump right back on with you at 3:10 when our Ledge Counsel is with us, in case we make changes based on what you have to say.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, committee, we'll see you in 6.